As I mentioned before, this is a very living house. There's a lot of life in this house in terms of how we try to do things, the adventures we try to take, and also basically for the lives that are in here, human and other creatures. This is a story of one of those little creatures. It's called Postcards from Carolina. He stared into a mirror. He mused to himself, "I make a good pirate, don't I?" "Wait a minute. You're looking at me? You are looking at me?" He shook his head as he shrugged his shoulders. "Oh, okay. Let me introduce myself. I am Pierre." He bowed. "Pierre Pig. What you have heard of what? You have never heard of a guinea pig? I can give you the fancy version. You may want to have an adult to help you with this part. Cavia porcellus." He paused for a second. "I can tell you all kinds of other things about being a guinea pig. I can tell you about what I like to eat, where I like to live, but what I want to do is to tell you about my travels." He waved his arms. "Here, there, everywhere. Everywhere I've been. Wherever I can go. You might say I am a Carolina pirate." He paused to explain. "I live in one of the Carolinas. I believe it's the northern one. Directions are always a bit tricky, especially when you do not own a compass." He walked to the side of a red ship. He climbed down. "It's when I am on my ship my greatest adventures happen. It is when I travel." Two hands reached down to lift up the boat. A face peered at him. Suddenly, a smile broke across the face. Pierre and his ship were being carried through the expanse of the house to the outside. Once outside, he felt the rush of the wind as he looked up at the tall, tall trees. The tall trees were swaying in the wind. He listened to how the long branches bumped and jostled each other. He and his ship disappeared into a car. He heard the snap, snap of locks. His ship was firmly tied down for the upcoming trip. He did not know where he was going. However, the adventure was sometimes greater when not knowing the destination. The car drove for what seemed like an eternity to Pierre. By the way, it is always seeming like an eternity to Pierre. He wanted to be out and about and to explore wherever he was. The hands reached to lift his ship from the moorings. Suddenly, his ship was back in its moorings. His friendly face looked at him. "I will be right back. Mom said I cannot take you inside the store." With that, she was gone. Pierre climbed out of his ship. He climbed up the seat of the car. He was a very good climber. To the top of the seat. He ran back and forth as he tried to catch up to the little girl. It was no use. He was trapped inside the car. He looked to the point where he last saw her. She was walking inside a large building. It was larger than the car. It was larger than his house. It was not as tall as the tall, tall trees that were swaying in the wind back home. He paced back and forth. He paced some more. He slid down to his ship. He checked to make the sails were in good order. He looked at the ship. He nodded his head. He noted she was ship-shape in Bristol fashion. Translation, his ship was in perfect condition to handle an adventure. Any adventure that was to come up. He climbed back up the seat. He jumped for joy. Quickly, he slid down the seat. The little girl was coming back from the large building. She opened the door. Pierre heard the snap, snap of locks. He looked at her from his ship. She looked at him. She smiled. She held one finger to her lip. She leaned over to hand him a piece of celery. He had been feeling a bit peckish. The celery tasted good. He just finished the celery when the car stopped once more. They were not back home. It was too quick for that. He looked about both sides of his ship. He and his ship were lifted up. Hooray! He was going with the little girl. She carried the ship inside a new building. Wait, he recognized the new place. It was a store filled with all kinds of objects. Some were shiny, some were made of metal. The little girl set his ship down. She attached a rope, really a string, to the ship. She pulled Pierre behind her. He could see the wind fill the sail of the ship. He started to talk quietly. Adventure and discovery. Discovery and adventure. May my feet never fail me as I leap into the new. May my eyes never cease at being amazed. And may I never stop wanting to stop having adventures. As he spoke to himself, he could feel himself growing bolder. He looked about the sides of the ship. It was now. Now was the time for adventure and discovery. He jumped over the side of the ship. He landed. Well, he rolled to a stop. Pierre hopped about from him as he decided which way to go. Straight ahead was just as good as any. As he ran straight ahead, he looked to see what was there. He saw a rope that looked to the sky. He smiled. It was irresistible. Up, up, up he went. He climbed to the very top. He hung from the rope as he looked all about his surroundings. He spotted his ship. The little girl was still pulling it. Quicker than quick, he ran down, down, down the rope. Just then the ship popped into view. He jumped from the rope onto the deck of the ship. He hoped the little girl noticed the perfect flip he did in midair before landing on the deck of his ship. However, she did not. Pierre smiled to himself. Soon the little girl lifted up his ship. She carried it and him back to the car. Soon he was back home. Adventure and discovery. Discovery and adventure. May my feet never fail me as I leap into the new. May my eyes never cease at being amazed. And may I never stop wanting to stop having adventures. He hoped the next adventure would be soon.
I only got to hear the end.